If you would, please rise. I'm going to call on Commissioner Ordenstein to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Pray with me, if you will. Father God, Lord, we come to you tonight so thankful for all of our many blessings, Lord, both as a community, a state, and a nation, Lord. We recognize tonight that we need you now more than ever. Lord, we thank you for the protection that you've shown upon our county and our cities. But Lord, we ask your healing hands upon our nation. We ask that you continue to watch over our public service and safety officials and folks in law enforcement, fire and rescue. Lord, as they're working harder now more than ever. Lord, we ask that you bless our meeting tonight. You be here with us and give us wisdom and guidance, and we'll give you the honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Ordenstein. A couple of announcements I'd like to make before we actually get into the meeting. First off, these beautiful roses that's here this morning or this afternoon is in honor of Miss Joyce Evans' birthday. We're not going to ask which one, but it just recognizing the fact that she just had her birthday. I believe it was Sunday? Yes. Yesterday, okay. But again, congratulations, and we certainly appreciate everything that you do with this commission and the long years, many years that you've served. So just a little token of our appreciation. Another note, a little bit on the sad side, as some of you may know, the Reverend Edgar Roberts passed away this weekend. Edgar was a pastor in this community, a former commissioner, businessman, and a community leader. I knew Edgar for many, many years, worked on several projects. He was in the construction trade. Just a fine individual, fine man, and he'll be sorely missed. So as those announcements get closer to being finalized and worked out, then if you get an opportunity, let's do, either attend the services or reach out to the family. Yes. Also, I'd like to announce, of course, our Valdosta Lounge 9/11 Memorial Ceremony is coming up. Of course, September the 11th. It will be at 9 a.m. at the Lowndes County Historic Courthouse lawn. If you would, please join us as Valdosta and Lowndes County officials for a memorial ceremony that will pay tribute to those who lost their lives during the terrorist attacks on September the 11th. We encourage that you wear your masks. The ceremony will be live streamed on the city and county Facebook pages. So if you can't attend, then please take the opportunity to use the live stream, and because again, it's need to honor these individuals that lost their lives. In the prayer spoke about fire and rescue and first responders. Many people, as we know, were running away from those buildings and that disaster, that attack. There were many that was actually running in when it collapsed and lost their lives, trying to help folks in that terrible attack. So again, that's just an opportunity that we have in our community to honor them. We do that each and every year. It's always, of course, on September the 11th and typically at 9 a.m. in the morning. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting. Our first agenda item is the approval of the minutes. Commissioners, you should have your minutes from the work session of August the 24th and your regular session minutes of August the 25th. If there are no additions or deletions, corrections that needs to be made, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Agenda item 5A is an appointment to the Greater Lowndes Planning Commission. Ms. Dukes?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The seat currently held by Mr. Tommy Willis will expire October the 31st, and Mr. Willis is interested in continuing to serve, and the same has been recommended.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? All right. At this time, then, we'll just move forward with the nominations, and I would like to place Mr. Tommy Willis's name in the nomination to be reappointed to the Planning Commission. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations, and Mr. Tommy Willis is reappointed by acclamation. Congratulations, Tommy, and thank you for your work. Agenda item 6A is a public hearing item. This is case number REZ 2020-10, Benny Cowart. It's located at 4115 Eazell Road. It involves 7.9 acres. It's currently EA, and the request is for R1, and it's served by well and septic. Mr. Dillard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The request is to get rezoned from EA to R1. The general motivation in this case is for the applicant to divide the property between his 4 children. In order for the parcels to remain in conformance with the ULDC after the division, a change in zoning would be necessary. For comprehensive plan guidance, R1 in this case is a permitted zoning within the rural residential character area, and the Planning Commission voted unanimously 8-0 to recommend approval.
Okay.
So the subject property currently, you note the R1 to the southeast, in the rural residential character area, and the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Mr. Dillard, how many lots are they planning on having?
4.
4. Do they have enough road frontage?
Yes, sir, with the 60-foot road frontage.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Dillard?
No, sir.
Okay. Hearing none, then, we'll open up the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you for your consideration.
Motion to approve the request.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 6B is REZ 2020-11. This is Bella Mill Plantation. It is located at 8450 Owsley Road. It involves 15.8 acres. It currently is EA, and the request is for a PD, and it as well will be served by well and septic. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request is to rezone a portion of the property from EA to PD in order for the applicant to develop and utilize the property for an event facility, primarily for weddings, family reunions, birthday parties, corporate events, community gatherings, and etc. Concerning the comprehensive plan and the future land use development map, the property is located within the rural residential character area, and which rural plan development or PDR zoning is allowed. The TRC considered the request and recommended the following 3 conditions. Property may be used for those which are in EA zoning and an event facility where the operation of an event facility is limited to meetings, retreats, celebrations, and weddings for groups no larger than the fire code allows for the proposed buildings and area. The outdoor performances by bands or ensembles that are accessory to a meeting, retreat, celebration, or wedding shall be allowed. The hours of operation of the event facility shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., including adherence to the Lowndes County Noise Ordinance. Unless otherwise noted on the approved site plan, the use of the property shall be subject to all standards applicable to properties in EA zoning. Exterior lighting shall be shielded to avoid direct illumination of the adjacent properties. The Planning Commission heard this request at their August meeting and recommended approval with the following additional conditions by unanimous vote of 8-0. Condition number 4, no amplified music outdoors. Condition 5, additional insulated wall buffering inside the barn structure. Condition 6, egress only onto Spain Ferry Road. Before you are pictures of the property from the entrance to the pond to the proposed parking area looking towards the barn venue, the current facility, and the proposed interior layout. It's noted that the darkened walls are insulated. and the proposed interior view or vision for the property. Again, these are the conditions that the Planning Commission recommended approval and comes before you now.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dillard?
Yes, I see we got this, I guess, plat here. Does it mean that the petitioner owns all the property around here? That's, I guess what I'm trying to,
They own the orange property.
oh, just the orange, okay, because the way it's.
Yes,
looks,
he
it
owns
says-
a larger tract, and he's just asking for the PD on this 15.8 acres.
That is correct.
Okay.
Orange is 62 acres, Marcus.
That's what I thought. I just know it says petitioner properties, and it had that same color surrounding all of it.
It's just for the 15.8 acre parcel within the larger 62 acres.
Yeah, so that's the property they own. And then, like I said, there's 15 acres in here. We'll see if it's on.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
Mike, would you explain again why egressing off of Springfield Road, you say it's not included?
Typically, we do not allow commercial establishments to have ingress or egress off of a dirt road because of them being a dirt road and the amount of traffic and everything that goes along with those dirt roads. I mean, that's just typical. I mean, there's nothing that's written in stone that says that we can or can't do that. But that's just typically been our policy, that we did not recommend for it, ingress and egress off of a dirt road when they had an ingress and egress point on a paved road because the amount of upkeep on the dirt road.
Any other questions?
One more, did they offer to pave the road or build the road up or anything like that, Dillard, in the proposal?
Did the applicants offer to pave the road?
Yes, and build it up?
Not at this current time.
Okay.
I do not believe it was been proposed in that manner to them.
Mr. Ornstein?
Mr. Dillard, is this proposal, is this use allowed in CC zoning? If
In the CC zoning, commercial,
community commercial?
don't have the use table in front of me at this very moment, but I do believe you received a letter.
Okay, yeah, I'll go back and look at that real quick. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. And let me say this, we're going to give each side 10 minutes. So I don't know what all you planned as far as who's going to be your speaker, but we should be able to get everybody's points across within 10 minutes. So we're going to start with the opposition. So is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Bill
Good evening.
Nigem, 1007 North Patterson Street. Happy birthday, Commissioner Evans. I'm going to take my mask off if y'all don't
Sure.
mind, so y'all can hear me a little clearer. Commissioner Ornstein, with respect to your question, I do have the use table right here, and this particular use is not allowed in CC, if I read that correctly. So I'm happy to hand that to y'all.
If you would, hand it to Ms. Laverne, and then she can move it along.
So I am here on behalf of adjacent property owners, surrounding property owners that oppose this request, and it's opposed for a number of reasons. A few of them being, the traffic, the noise that a facility like this generates, the fact that it's not compatible with surrounding properties and surrounding uses. From a more specific standpoint, if we pan it down and look at the ordinances, I don't think it's allowed and should be denied for a number of reasons. Number one, the application for rezoning does not meet the requirements of the PD zoning. Number two, and I'll get into these more specifically, the proposed use as a commercial event and meeting facility is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. Number three, precedent that this will set and the concern for that. And number four, it doesn't meet the standards for exercising zoning powers under the ULDC. In addition to that, number five, I can add, I know there are some other event spaces that are currently zoned PD. Those are different, I would say, from these. And one major respect is that from what I know, at least of High Grove on Knights Ferry, which is the more close one, that property is entirely surrounded by family land for the most part. And across the street, you've got 4,000 acres of Langdale property. The owners of that event facility live right behind it. And if there is a problem, their neighbors can knock on their door, okay? Nobody's having to call the county with noise violations and other conditions. To get a little bit into the ordinances, why this doesn't meet the requirements of PD zoning. This is a rezoning for one single use as an event facility. There's no creative master plan. There's no mixture of uses that tie together in one comprehensive development. This is a rezoning for one use, and that's as an event space. So, you know, you look at PD, ULD section 4.0601, PD shall have the following characteristics: mixture of uses, accommodate a mixture of land uses which are compatible both internally and externally. So internally with the development, externally with the surrounding properties. Compatibility and consistency, maintain compatibility with nearby development and consistency with future land use elements of the comprehensive plan. You know, we look at a typical PD and you look at issues with density, setbacks. Typically that's where it's allowed, okay? You get a mixture of uses. That is not the case here. The comprehensive plan. PD is allowed, but the only commercial classification, CC, does not allow this type of use, does not allow an event space. So I think it's a real concern that PD is being used here to put one single use in that's not allowed in this character area, which is rural residential. So I think you have to think about the precedent that will set too. We're going to have commercial uses that CC does not allow. They're going to be tried to be pigeonholed into a PD zoning for that character area. You know, we'll look at transitional care facilities, concert venues, freight moving establishments, hotels, motels, all those. And lastly, this doesn't meet the standards for your zoning powers. Notably, will adversely affect or influence existing conditions on neighbors, the noise, the patrons that will attend. I mean, we had 300 people out there. Conservation wetlands we've got to the east, the noise with that. Additional costs and burdens of the county to provide safety and monitoring to ensure adherence. Noise complaints are going to happen. We've got the dirt road issue. And lastly, it constitutes a grant of special privilege and is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the commissioners may have, and we'll sit down if not.
Any questions, commissioners? I would, and before we move on, opposition still has 5 minutes, so we'll start with the next one. But I'd like if we could just a minute, because you talked a lot about whether or not this fit as a PD. I would like to ask our county attorney, Mr. Elliott, if he would, to kind of weigh in on that just a minute. But we do want to make sure that we're right in our thinking of whether it fits initially.
Sure, and if I could get a chance to respond.
Sure.
I think as I analyze the presentation and how it aligns with the PD requirement, the ULDC provides that the application shall maintain compatibility with nearby development. So that is the principal issue presented to you, which you must decide based on all of the facts that are presented. Now, preliminary to that, the ULDC does provide also that the proposal shall accommodate a mixture of land uses. Now, as this is presented to you, it does permit and accommodate the uses that are permitted under the EA zoning and the proposed event facility, which is a mixture of land uses, which though does bring us back to the central, more fundamental question, whether this proposal meets the requirement of the ULDC, which is to maintain compatibility with nearby development.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And if I could just respond real quick
Sure.
to that. And I think that's why it's so important to look at the commercial uses that are allowed within the one commercial district for this character area with CC, and the fact that this use is not allowed. I understand the argument that there's two uses with EA and the event space, but you know, the fact of the matter is we're here tonight based on one use that really this property is going to be used for, which is an event space. So, happy to answer
Any questions? All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Tom Clay. I live at 8070 Owsley. I oppose this simply for the noise. We have a country setting there. We enjoy our peace and quiet. And once this gets put in, there's no going back. And you speak of non-amplified music. I haven't been to a wedding yet. It was just an acoustic guitar. That's a lie right there. That ain't gonna happen. I do enjoy our peace and quiet, and this is totally against it. That and the drunk drivers leaving. It's gonna happen.
Okay, any questions for the speaker? Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes.
All right, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is David Sims. I live at 8447 Owsley, right across from the gate going into this proposed property rezone. Heard a lot of good things, I guess, about, a lot of discussion was going on here, but nothing about all of the residents that live around this piece of property. None of which want this in our neighborhood. That should have a profound impact on the decisions we make in here tonight. It should. And I beg of you to please consider that. I don't want it so bad. I don't want it in my front yard that I will be trying to relocate, find another place to live. And I've lived there all my life. So please consider all the neighbors and landowners all the way around this piece of property, not just the legalities of what people can and can't do. Let's have some consideration for personal and private lives out there. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Sims? Thank you, Mr. Sims.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one else, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Brandy McCrary, and I live at 4305 4 Acre Place in Valdosta, Georgia, 31601. Happy birthday. First of all, I would like to preserve my constitutional right to file an appeal of any adverse zoning decision on file here today. Justin and I would like to thank the Board of Commissioners in advance for taking this into consideration of a much-needed wedding venue and special events center for our community. Just as other venues and properties, the precedent has been set, and these have been approved in the last 18 months under the current ULDC rules here because of the demand in Lowndes County. Over the last year, Thomasville, Adel, Tallahassee, Moultrie, wedding events have been profited millions of dollars from Lowndes County residents due to the lack of beautiful wedding venues like what Bella Mill Plantation will become if approved. Under the current zoning, EA, we can operate and have 5 events per year. However, the need and demand is much, much greater than that. As of today, we have 5 beautiful brides and also residents of Lowndes County that have heard about our dream and vision to begin Bella Mill Plantation that have reserved wedding dates praying that their dream is going to come true on our farm. Our family has been blessed with 2 miracle children, Annabella and Miller, and that I hope that one day Justin and I can watch them walk down the aisle of the Bella Mill Plantation named after them. Our property can be deemed with certain conditions and circumstances, if necessary, to be only used as described in our initial application. We have been truthful with all of our intentions and always upfront with JD and the TRC committee to comply with all requirements to do it the right way. Our number one goal is to build our community, to respect and love our neighbors, minimizing noise and traffic concerns, and ultimately to keep the growth and revenue in Lowndes County. We have done our homework extensively, and according to the Q Public, all homes enclosed in the booklets provided to the commissioners, as you can see, around High Grove Farms have increased residents' property values from 2017 to 2020 today. High Grove Farms has been a very successful venture with no complaints from that area of residents on social media. That is also included in your booklets that we provided. No noise complaints was also stated by a resident. We take every neighbor's complaints and concerns very serious and with the utmost respect, especially when every surrounding neighbor to our property gave us their full blessing of starting our venue 1 week prior to the planning committee, except one person, Bill Altman. And then a neighborhood petition was started. Our intentions have been very true and honest to every neighbor and community leaders from the very beginning. We are asking for a fair opportunity to prosper our community and lead by example. Mr. Weisenbaker brought up this morning a good point about Quail Branch Lodge operating on a dirt road with no complaints or problems. We are asking for the same opportunity for Bella Mill Plantation to exit our property with a right turn only up to the paved road Owsley, which is approximately 1,100 feet. This venue would provide stability and create jobs for our community. For example, small business owners such as caterers, bridal shops, event planners, photographers, videographers, hotels, florists, and restaurants would significantly prosper if booked 52 weekends of the year. I serve on many nonprofit organizations in this community, such as the Lowndes County South Georgia Association of Nurse Practitioners, Ambassador for the Greater United Way, VSU Dancing with the Stars board member, the Haven board member, Zeta Greek Life Advisor, and with that being said, many others seeking meeting locations and event spaces for fundraisers to have become very challenging due to COVID-19. The largest event center, VSU, has limited these meetings due to the COVID-19 spread on campus properties. With COVID-19, brides have moved their wedding dates and venues are now booked until 2022, where no bride can get married here in Lowndes County if you haven't already been on the books, creating the demand for more venues in Lowndes County. Lastly, our vision and our passion as residents of Lowndes County are to bring together people, family, and friends in our own community and to build those lasting, precious memories together at Bella Mill Plantation with your approvals here today. We won't let this community down, and we won't let you down. We're here to serve our community. Thank you.
Any questions for the speaker?
I think she said, I guess I was kind of confused, because obviously the petition, you say you had everyone's support
We did.
prior to this week or last week or what?
All right.
With all of the homeowners that my husband personally went door to door to prior to the committee meeting, we had their blessings 1 week prior to that meeting. He went to every neighbor. It may have been a neighbor that he did not get to prior to all this, but he personally went around, and we did have the blessing except for the Altmans.
I just bring it up because I've seen the petition with all the names, and at the end of the day, if we approve something, you want peace and harmony to prevail out there. You don't want to be in the midst of, that much opposition.
Absolutely. And we were a little shocked too, just to let you know, because we did do our due diligence as good neighbors and citizen to, to let them know what we were doing. And we did not have anyone at that current time tell us that they did not approve of it, except for Mr. Altman.
Could you take a moment
Sure.
and just go through your list of types of events that you plan at
Sure.
this location?
Yes. Weddings, anniversaries, your grandfather's 85th birthday party, if someone wants to have a birthday party out there, family reunions, any type of birthday parties, fundraisers in our community. If we have the Greater United Way that needs a facility to be able to do a fundraiser for a child who has cancer, I mean, we have been blessed to have these 62 acres. We want to be able to give that back to our community to allow them to do it. So it's not a concert venue whatsoever. This is going to be for special events such as
Okay,
those.
I just wanted to clarify that
Yes.
because I had heard
Yes.
at some point that concert venue.
And we've heard that too, but that is false information.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for clarifying.
Mr. Griner?
Yes. Mr. McCray, would you be willing to move your entrance on Owsley Road north of where it is now located? I think there's a pond across the street further north from where the entrance is located now. Would you be willing to move that entrance north to that so that the lights coming out at night would not shine on his house, Mr. Sim's house?
Mr. Gunner, I mean, that's a consideration. My husband and I are open to that. However, with other venues, they haven't been asked to move their site. They are on dirt roads. I do think it's possible that we can do that if the entrance can remain the same, and see if there's any way that the county could possibly help us put in maybe a culvert for another driveway, because we've already funded for that one driveway into the plantation. And the reason why that I guess we would consider that is because when you are looking at aesthetics of the property as you're going into the plantation, you're getting that plantation look. Every bride, when they go down that view, they want to see that they're going to go through a timber plantation, because we have approximately 20 acres of planted pines that kind of give it that nice plantation feel before they get to their venue. So yes, that is something that we could consider.
All right, so how much does it cost to put in that entrance?
$15,000 for that entrance.
And
Yeah.
to me, to try to make your neighbors happy,
Right.
it'd be worth spending that $15,000 to do. But that's just my opinion.
Understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gregg. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Chairman, point of clarification, the time left on the clock includes the questioning period. Typically, you don't count that. Would you like me to restart it back where she started the questions?
Yes, if you would.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Justin McCrary. I live at 4305 4 Acre Place, Valdosta, Georgia, 31601. I will keep this brief because I was under the assumption that we did only have a 3-minute time frame, so we chose my wife to speak. So in order to address a few things, we did speak in regards to the exit on the property as an alternative site to appease anybody who thought that the exiting lights might affect them, impact them directly. So that has been considered, and we are discussing that as an option. Two, in regards to the mixed-use development, we are a timber farm. So whenever you employ another venue or another event facility, or which we're trying to create, it, I think, complies with the mixed-use aspect. In regards to the aesthetics, I feel like there's very few things outside of a barn that does not fit more so with the surrounding area in which we've created and built this to look like. So I feel like it will be not an eyesore or negatively impact the surrounding area, but greatly increase or benefit the surrounding area and tie into the surrounding areas as well. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. McCray?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll close the public participation portion of the meeting, and Commissioners, I'll turn it back over for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, given all the facts here tonight, I'd like to recommend denial of this request.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? We have a second. Okay, we'll call the vote. I'm gonna ask for a show of hands.
Don't we need to have a discussion on the motion?
Yes, we do.
Can I have a discussion?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. You know, one of the biggest problems we've had tonight or listening to concerns is traffic. Now, the McCrarys have 62 acres in that area, and there's R1 zoning across the street on Owsley. There's R1 zoning south of Spain Ferry on Owsley. So it's not a stretch to say they couldn't get all 62 acres rezoned R1 and probably build 40 to 50 houses. If each one of those has 2 cars, that's 80 to 100 cars a day. If you leave twice, that's 160 to 200 cars a day, which is in line with what this event is going to do once or twice a week at the most. But that'll be every day. So from my standpoint, Owsley Road is capable of handling that traffic. So the traffic really shouldn't be an issue. Really and truly shouldn't be an issue. My biggest concern is what I told Ms. McCrary is that Mr. Sims' house is right across from their exit, when people exit on Owsley. I'm not sold on going down on Spain Ferry, but, you know, I think moving the entrance and exit further north on Owsley to, I guess that's your pond, Mr. Sims? Across. Okay. Understood. But that's my biggest concern. And, so.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other discussion?
I'll just, since Commissioner Griner opened it up, my concern is something that our attorney said, and that's the compatibility with surrounding properties. I think this is something that will continue to come up. I think that the McCrarys would do a fine job with this. I think if there was more support, and I use the phrase compatibility with surrounding properties, but for me, that means a lot of things. It could mean in both appearance and in just compatibility among the neighbors and getting along. That troubles me. And it really bothers me that CC does not allow for this event space. I think that, and this I'm speaking to the board, I think that we have to figure this out. I think that unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, however you want to look at it, it comes up now. But I think that this is something that we as a governing body and as a staff, we have to figure out. So I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say, I think Scotty hit some of the things on the head was in compatibility. But, I'm just not necessarily sold on this compatible with the neighbors in the neighborhood.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to ask for the vote by show of hands. We have a motion to deny the request. We have a second. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay. Motion denied. All right. We'll move on to agenda item 6C. And this is REZ 2020-12 for Southern Tractor and Outdoors. The Valdosta facility is located at U.S. Highway 84. This involves 43.8 acres. It's EA, and the request is for CH, and it will be served by water and sewer. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property is the 43.8 acres along Highway 84 West, and the plan is to subdivide it. As you can see here, it is planned to subdivide it and rezone to commercial highway, which is surrounded on approximately 3 sides. It is within the future land use option for a rural activity center in which CH zoning is allowed. And as you can see here on the screen, the overall site for the 43 acres is to be split approximately 20 and 23.8 acres. And on the right, a close-up version for Southern Tractor and Outdoors facility. Planning Commission recommended approval by unanimous vote of 8-0 at their regularly held meeting.
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Dillard on this request? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? We'll take a moment for those that would like to leave to go ahead and exit, please. Okay, again, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Name is Clayton Milligan. I'm at 3998 Interprimenter Road, Valdosta, Georgia. And JD did a good job presenting the project. I think you saw the conceptual layout that we have right now. They will have a joint use driveway for both properties that will limit the access for whatever develops on the east side. So we'll just have one driveway there off 84. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that anybody might have. They have some really nice looking facilities in Leesburg and Moultrie, and I think those two. Yes, so they're looking to expand into this market.
Good. Any questions?
Is this a used equipment dealership
No, this
or
is
a
new. I think that it's a Kubota dealership, but they do. The owner is present. You might be able to answer better than I can as far as what type of equipment.
Okay, yeah, that answers it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Milligan. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Hearing none, we'll close the public meeting portion of this meeting and turn it back over to the commissioners for your consideration.
I move we approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
The second. Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, the motion carries. Welcome to Valdosta. Lowndes County.
Yeah.
Welcome to both.
That's right.
Get that right.
That's right. Agenda item 6D is TWR 2020-02, Kinsby Road. It's located at 7346 Porter Road. It involves 37.3 acres, and it is EA zoning, and this is for a tower request. Mr. Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for the applicant, a 300-foot self-supporting telecommunication tower within the tract located in Lake Park. It is currently zoned EA, and for new tower locations, they do require board approval. The tower, given its height, had an FAA clearance letter, and it does not have impact upon Valdosta Regional Airport or Moody Air Force Base. Primary motivation for the tower is to cover an existing gap for cellular service, the applicant being Diamond Communications and AT&T. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval, 8-0.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dillon?
What's a self-supporting tower? Was that the language used?
Monopole.
I believe the applicant is here who has a better understanding of the tower itself, sir. But again, you can see a few pictures here of the proposed site location and then potential views from surrounding areas.
Okay.
So that's what a self-supporting tower looks like, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Do you think less of me for my question?
Not at all, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Jonathan Yates, glad to be with you all tonight. First and foremost, and then I'm going to get to the Commissioner's question.
Mr. Yates, I'm sorry, real quick. Your address, please.
Yes, sir. 105 Broad Street, Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Thank you. First and foremost, this is my first time working in Lowndes County. I do a lot of work for AT&T. And the pleasure I've had in working in Lowndes County started with Ms. Molly Stevenson and then continued on to JD. I asked maybe 59 to 60 stupid questions. They never laughed at me. They never, at least while I was on the phone. But no, I do this work all over the Southeast for AT&T, and you have a wonderful team here. And I want to thank them because they help me get through the process. Commissioner, towers come in a couple different flavors. The monopole, which is just like a pylon, sort of like this, that you have in front of a Hardee's or something like that. Monopoles, generally, we can get up to about 200 feet structurally. After 200 feet, we're left with two options. What we call the self-support, which is three-sided steel, or the guide, where you have the guy wires coming down, like I was sort of used to growing up, all the FM and AM towers, had the guy wires. So this is not that. AT&T, and I apologize, they got a hole there. They unfortunately, in that section of the county going into Lake Park, they have a severe deficit. They want to cover it. We were very fortunate in looking where to plug this hole, so to speak, and connect to existing sites. We found a property, our good friend Mr. Paul Hotchkiss. Paul had a property that worked perfectly for AT&T RF engineers, and also it was an interesting property. It's 37 acres, zone BA. About 30 acres are pretty good tree covers, a mix of pine and hardwood. About 7 acres, you have a 3-acre pond, then you have 4 acres where he has his house, where he and his wife live, and his son Chris and his wife. And we were able to situate it up in the treed area above the house. The eastern portion of the property line is Enoch Creek. The southern portion of the property has a Georgia power line running through it. So we were able to find a good-sized piece of property. We were able to get it into tree cover, and it is exactly where AT&T wants to be. To give you a feel, and JD has touched on it, before I get to come see you, we have a little other work to do. First and foremost, the facility, get my right one, has to be reviewed by the FAA. Even though this one is outside the MAZ or the VLD zone, it still has to be reviewed by the FAA. And in this case, they made the finding of a determination of no hazard air navigation. Next, we also have to deal with the state of Georgia. In this case, it's the Historic Preservation Division of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, where they look at it to see if there was any National Register property or eligible property that it would affect. And the finding by Ms. Jennifer Dixon of that agency was no adverse effect. We then have our people work on what we call the NEPA review, where in this case, we had to make sure, and I want to get this right, I don't want to mix it up. In Lowndes County, we're looking for habitats of the wood stork, the eastern indigo snake, which I don't think I want to run into, or the gopher tortoise. And the review was that this would not affect any of the habitats of those three species, which can be found in Lowndes County. If we get to do the tower, it is designed initially for AT&T, but it is also designed for at least 2 of their additional broadband carriers. We discussed the design of the tower. It is the self-support design. We then have the tower reviewed, in this case by Georgia professional engineer Amy R. Hurst. Amy designed the tower. She's designing it to the ANSI TIA 222H standard for Lowndes County. That's 114 mile per hour wind, 30 mile per hour quarter-inch radial ice. So if we get to do it, to give you a feel for what happens when a tower's there, it takes us about 60 days to put it in. Then AT&T does their integration on their equipment. After that, AT&T only comes in about 8 to 10 times a year to sort of tinker with their equipment and adjust. A lot of it's sort of operated remotely now. We'll have a 70 by 70 compound, and around that, we're going to have an 8-foot fence, topped with 3 strands of barbed wires and an anti-climbing device. So I'm hoping you can approve it. We need the coverage. The folks need the coverage. And the question is why? We're providing infrastructure. It's wireless infrastructure. We're seeing across the state of Georgia today, over 50% of your households have gone wireless only. We're seeing we're in excess in most counties, and I'm sorry, I do not have the data for Lowndes County, but in my home county of Charleston County, South Carolina, 84% of all 911 calls come from a wireless device. Why? If it's on your belt, you can pull it in and make the call. So that's what we're trying to bring here. We saw a real demand on wireless this past spring. with the quarantine for COVID-19, folks were working at home, and they needed all their devices to work.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I think we've got everything we need, and your time's up.
Yeah, sometimes it takes me 5 minutes to say my name, so I thank you.
You're good.
I thank you.
You've done very well. You've done very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Any comment, any questions?
Yeah, what's the range of this one tower?
About 3 miles.
Oh.
About 3 miles. At the 300 feet, as you lower you reduce the range, but roughly about a 3 mile radius around it is what we're looking for this one. And again, it's designed not just for AT&T, but their competitors, that they want to cover that area better too.
Self-supporting
Any
pole
other-
and a monopole are not the same.
Yeah, right. I learned something. All right, any other questions, so to speak? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll close the public participation portion of the meeting, and we'll turn it back over to the commissioners for your consideration.
I move we approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any other comments or business? County manager report. I apologize. Getting hot.
I understand. I'll be brief. I just want to let you all know that the final 70% of Lowndes County's CARES Act funding has been received. So Ms. Black is currently the steward of that funding and will be coming to you all if there's some adjustments or we have budget requests related to that. Staff is also creating a presence on the website for the historic courthouse project. Not all of you were here this morning, but Aaron has already sent that information over electronically, so we're going to make it available to you all. We'll forward that email, and then also we're going to have a presence on the on the website so that citizens can follow that project as it moves forward, as well as social media. So we look forward to having that available for you all to direct citizens who are interested in the project too. And then also, finally, with the finances, under the direction of Ms. Black and Mr. Harrison Tillman, our audit process has officially begun, and we have a calendar that should keep us on track so that the audit is complete by December the 31st. And thank you, Commissioner Griner. He's going to be assisting us with that process somewhat this year. I'm not sure if it's going to be congratulations or condolences, but we appreciate his support, and I'm sure he'll have a different perspective for you all as we move forward.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.